Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me here.
So you brought your guitar,
I did.
and there's a story behind your guitar.
There is.
What is it?
It's a stolen object.
What do you mean it's a stolen object?
It used to belong to my dad. It's the second guitar I've jacked from him. I say that loosely. He's like cool with it.
Yeah,
now,
right.
you know?
Your dad was a musician?
Yeah, he just jammed out. We'd jam out together at the house, especially on Sundays. We used to play at church too. So.
Do you think that approaching music socially, not just as a performance thing, but like being able to play around the house, does that change the way you approach music?
Yeah. I think there's emotions attached to songs all the time. It's like songs are like little capsules that just like whatever's going on seep into that. So every time you hear it, it kind of reminds you, and it's like you open that little bottle and that emotion takes over, that memory takes over. And like having it around the house growing up, especially like cumbia, Colombian cumbia.
Yeah.
Every time I hear that, I can't help but like get happy and remember those days around my house with my mom and dad and my brother and my aunts. And yeah, I think it helps make it more positive when you're able to have it in and around your house.
Yeah, I'm Irish, right? I'm from an Irish background, Irish Catholic background, and so I feel a lot of shame all the time. And we sing a lot of songs around the house, and for Newfoundland songs and traditional music. And I often think of people who music to them is just a performance medium, and is not for, or it's an academic medium, and is not for actually enjoying time with one another. I sometimes feel kind of bad for them.
Me too, but what? I guess there are, maybe it's just a foreign concept to me.
There's people who this is just a job.
Yeah, I guess so, eh?
Crazy though, hey?
That is crazy. It's a little foreign to me. It sucks.
And when you first started singing, I was reading you didn't think you were any good.
No, I wasn't any good.
So you're good now.
I'm better now.
You're good.
I still work to be better.
You're good.
No. But there are people that I look up to that I know I know I have to put in years to like do runs like Beyonce. I know I have to put in years to be able to do like hour-plus long shows like Michael Jackson and not lose your consistency in your voice and be able to maintain that throughout.
Yeah.
I know I have work to do. I know I'm still working towards it, but I also know that I was awful.
Like
awful.
Out of tune?
Out of tune. I didn't know what a key was. I couldn't understand it. It just, until someone sat me down and was like, listen. And I had to like explain it. Shout out to Tice. Tice was one of the first people to do that.
Who's Tice?
I auditioned for this girl group when I was like 17 or 18.
Yeah.
And it went awful. I was...
Did they become anything, or they?
The girl group?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know.
Well, good.
Yeah.
So what advice did you get?
He came running out of the audition room because they were like, "We'll call you," and I knew what that meant. So I walked out with my guitar all sad, and he was like, "Hey," and I was like, "Listen, like, I don't know if this is for you, but I see a lot of potential, and it'd be great for us to work together." And we got together, and he just helped me understand like how important it is to learn control when it comes to your voice, and to study the greats. He's one of the first people to tell me that, like, if you want to be epic, you want to be a wonderful singer, you need to study the greats and like follow the runs and slow them down so that you can like follow it, and your voice will just get used to it, just like any muscle.
So who did you study?
Beyonce, Carlos Vives, Amy Winehouse, Bob Marley, a lot of Bob Marley.
Yeah.
Otis Redding, Sam Cooke.
Bob Marley's an underrated singer. Like, he's a great, of course, incredible figure, great songwriter, but he can sing, and people don't pay attention to how well he can sing.
What? I feel like maybe that's so funny. This is the second thing when you say something, and I'm like, what? It's so foreign to me because in my world,
he's a singer first?
In my world, he's like if you ask me who my two favorite artists are, it's like interchangeable. Amy Winehouse and Bob Marley will be like, but for many reasons, like not just the singing. I love his voice. I love how I just love it. I love how it makes me feel. I love his songwriting. I love what he stood for. I love all of that. And I love his ability to be able to, like, when I make music, I make a lot of sad music because that's just what comes out of me.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
So when people, that's funny. When people connect with it, I feel grateful, but I know that it's like the majority of what I create is that. And I always admire artists that are able to create happiness and have people connect with that, because it's something that, again, is a little foreign to me. I can only achieve that sometimes, but I can never aim for it because it's just not authentic if I aim for it. So it's just what comes out. But he had the ability to make so many people happy. Like, you put on a Bob Marley song, like, I dare you to not just like feel something that's like reminiscent of sunshine, or something that's reminiscent of like a mom's hug, or something that's reminiscent of that, you know? Or unity. Oh man, I just respect him so much.
You sing about stuff that you don't like to talk about.
Yeah.
What does singing about things that you don't want to talk about give you? What do you get by singing it and not saying it?
The chance to finish without getting interrupted. I feel like it's very hard to get a thought out. Sometimes if you're dealing with emotions and someone else's emotions, it's very difficult to be able to finish your sentence because both people are just trying to get heard. So when you write a song, it's almost like writing a letter. You can just let everything out so that someone can actually like, just shut up, just listen, just like, you know? That's what I feel. So
Well, I'm afraid to say anything now.
No.
Yeah, I'm only joking. But I never thought about that before because you're right. When you speak and you have a conversation, I mean, I just felt it. There's that moment where you want to say something, you want to interject, you want to get something in. But when you sing, no one can stop you.
no. I mean, they can still misunderstand and not care what you're saying. They can still do that, but at least you can articulate yourself to the best of your ability and like be able to finish your thought without feeling defensive or have to interrupt or have to like, you know.
Do you prefer writing about painful moments in your life?
It's not that I prefer. It's just kind of what happens naturally.
What do you mean?
Like if you ate something that was bad for you versus eating, I don't know, what's your favorite food?
My favorite food, like that's
Yeah.
good for me, or my favorite food that's bad
Well,
for me?
no, your favorite food that you just love.
I like fish cakes.
Fish cakes. So it's as opposed to like when you eat fish cakes and you just let it sit there and you're happy with it and
Yeah.
you know, you have this feeling of satisfaction
Yeah.
versus if I fed you like 5-day-old, I don't know, a fish, like rotting fish or
See,
something.
that's my second favorite food.
Funny. Well, you can throw it up because you get sick. You want it out of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same way I feel about, I guess, emotions or life. Those feelings I want to keep with me, so I don't feel the need to like bleh, and let it all out.
Well, there's one thing to let it all out, but just on a human level, like when you're standing up in front of like thousands of people and you got to sing these really personal things, is that ever scary?
Yep, always. It's always scary, but it's weird because there's this level of like contrast. Because, like I said earlier, like sometimes songs are like memories that you have bottled up in this just little bottle, and every time that you listen to a song or sing it, it's like you open up the bottle. But for me, that's darkness. But everything that's happening right now and people supporting is light. Everything that's happening is love and happy. So there's this like line of like hurt and it's coming out, and then I'll be in that space, and then I open my eyes and I'll see everyone singing back, and it's like intense happiness all mixed together. It's crazy.
Is it bizarre to see people singing like words about someone you dated or words about someone you had an interaction with? Like they're singing your emotions back to you.
It is. But it's like the best bizarre there is.
That has to be.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be so beautiful.
Yeah, man.
And what does that tell you? I mean, I think what it tells you that the things that we experience generally are universal.
I mean, we all bleed the same. We're all pink inside. I mean, there's serial killers out there that I hope don't relate to what I'm thinking about.
They don't listen to the show.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
But
But you know what I mean? Like, I think that when you experience something like that, like what you were experiencing when you were writing figures, there's a tendency to think that, oh, this is only happening to me. This is my depth. And then when you share it with others, there's something beautiful about realizing that other people share it with you.
yeah, I mean, it was never like it was my intention, but it is. I don't want to. This is gonna sound weird, but it's almost like I'm honored to have that kind of connection with people, and honored that music can be this long distance way of getting intimate with strangers, because that's kind of what I felt when I was listening to Amy Winehouse and I was sad and going through my own thing, and you have family that's around you that'll tell you, oh, things are gonna get better, like, you know, family that's really close that don't like to see you in pain will try to help, but you feel like you're in this hole by yourself, and they say you're gonna get out because everyone's been through it. Everyone's been in love and fallen out and had their heart broken or broken hearts, but when they're not in that hole with you, you feel alone. But then you hear someone whose pain is so tangible that it's coming through speakers that it makes you feel like you have a friend there with you. To think that people resonate that way is like incredibly. I feel honored.
And that song can't be interrupted either. Like when you go to your parents, you go to your friends and tell them how you're feeling. they like you said earlier, that moment can be interrupted. But when you hear us, when you hear Amy Winehouse sing "Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow" to you,
Oh my God.
great, the greatest.
Yeah.
And when someone hears Figures being sung to them, there's no conversation. Like you said, they can't get back either.
Yeah, which sounds really childish when you say it like
I don't
that.
mean it. You know what I
know,
mean.
but
You know.
it's just funny because it sounds like very like, give me the mic, let me talk, let me finish. But I just mean it like it's like the point where you've tried and you can't, and so then this is almost like last resort, you know?
Yeah. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Q. I'm speaking with Jessie Reyez. The final song you're going to do is Gatekeeper. And speaking of personal songs, speaking of sharing personal experiences, this is resonating deeply with a lot of people. And it's a song sung in some ways from the perspectives of the so-called gatekeepers of the music industry, the people with the power to help struggling musicians become successful artists. And it's about and demonstrative of the way these so-called gatekeepers will use their power to exploit musicians, will use their power to sexually try and exploit particularly young women. And you released a short film to accompany the song that's gotten you a lot of attention. I was looking at it last night. I mean, it has hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views. It's a really personal moment that happened to you. I know, for people who haven't heard the story before, would you be willing to tell me the story?
Yeah. Something that happened to me like 6 years ago. I was living in Florida, and I was young, and like I said earlier with the Fillmore stuff from Kendrick, I would always keep my mixtapes on me, and I was always pushing music, and the opportunity arose for us to go to the studio, and I was put in that position aggressively. So much, like sometimes it happens to, I mean, it's happened to me before. What's crazy is that wasn't the only occasion that it's happened to me. That just so happens to be the one that was the most aggressive and the most that stuck out and the most that was direct about it, because there are men out there that will do it. In my experience, there are men out there that have done it, that just do it in a like slide it in there kind of way. But anyways, to sum it up, the song is about sexual abuse in the music industry and me being a recipient of it and satirically being told from the perspective of the abuser.
And when you made the video for this, the short film for this, you had to put yourself back into the situation that you found yourself in. You had to act out that situation again.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Crazy. I specifically didn't like read lines or rehearse or anything because I know the story like the back of my hand, and I also didn't want anything to come out rehearsed, and being that it's my life, it would be easy, right?
Yeah.
And we only rehearsed once, and it was as soon as everyone had gotten in the car and the director's there, and he said it too. He said, like, let's hold off on rehearsing, because I was ready to do it then, the day of. The actor's brilliant, Milton. So he started yelling and going in it, and the guy's a sweetheart, like the real guy, the actor. He's a sweetheart, very nice gentleman. Got into character, and this is like winter, like it's snowing outside, and I'm sitting, I mean not in the memory, not in what happened, but in Toronto it is snowing while we're doing this, and I started sweating, like my heart started beating and faster, and I could feel myself getting angry, and I could feel these emotions being stirred up in me, all by some fake catalyst, because he's just an incredible actor that he's able to inspire those kind of emotions. It was strange, because I'm not the same person I was back then. I was quieter, I was younger, I was stupider, I was naive. So the way I reacted back then was very different. It's very different than how I would react now, which was something that I had to kind of put myself back in the mindset of like, okay, well, now you've grown up and as you get older, your skin gets thicker. As you get older, you get wiser. And at that point, I was like suspend this newfound voice and this newfound independence and this newfound like sense of you that you have, because you need to bring yourself back to meek, younger, more naive you.
Yeah.
That was insane. That was insane, having to censor my natural reaction.
What about watching it?
Good.
Really?
Honestly.
Really?
Yeah, my peace was made a long time ago. My peace was made when I found my peace about the situation. Sorry. I found my peace regarding the situation.
Of course, yeah.
When I came back to music. And when I stopped crying about it and decided that I wasn't gonna let this one situation determine my level of dedication or my level of, I don't know how thick my skin is to be able to handle what seemed like it was coming. I like that I was able to tell this story.
I think it was really important that you told the story.
Thank you.
I think a lot of people got a lot from you telling that story.
Thanks. I liked it. I was happy. I'm happy that I was able to like put it out. I hope he's seen it. I don't even know if he's watched it.
I was going to ask, has he seen it?
I have no idea.
He has reached out?
I was approached a year ago or 2 years ago before Gatekeeper was out to attend one of his writing camps. Yeah.
That's when you put up the picture on Instagram.
No. The picture was part of the picture was actually part of the actual song and how we were putting it out. The picture of like the letter.
Yeah, I should point out that if you're listening to this, the Jessie posted up a very, very powerful letter to her abuser on Instagram, and you mentioned the writing camps in the letter.
Yeah, but that was prior to. It was prior to, and I was able to be like, nope.
Right. Oh, yeah, go ahead, say it.
I say fuck no?
I think you have to.
Okay.
I mean, we're gonna cut it, but you say it for yourself.
Yeah, I was like, no, and Kim, and if ever. You know what? I always talked about, because people ask me, and thanks for not, because I mean, whatever. People ask me sometimes, like, how come you haven't said his name, or why haven't you said it? And I always say, I'm like, well, I never wanted to make it about him. I wanted to make it about my experience. And if anything, once people heard the song and started, like, connecting, and I understood how many people it was touching, I almost was even more inclined not to say his name or shed light on him, because it would make it more about him as opposed to the unity that it's creating with women and even other men that have gone through it. Mm-hmm. Secondly, it's not like he's on and popping right now, so I don't want to put any light on him either. And then thirdly, I want to have a discussion with him if ever in the future it comes up, and I want to sit down and I want to I want to explain and hopefully aim for understanding for what he did.
Really?
And absolutely, because I feel like there's no sense in crucifying someone without actually, like, because that's almost like, there's no sense in crucifying. If I went through it and I was able to come out this way, I would rather, pardon the expression, man to man, but woman to man, and be able to say, you did this to me.
Yeah.
You did this to me.
Yeah.
You almost did this to me. How have you done it to other women? Do you have any daughters? Do you have any sisters? Do you have a mother? Is she alive? Is she proud of who you are? Does she know what you do on your days off? Does she know what you did to me? Does she have any idea of the kind of impact that you almost had in my life? Do you think your family's proud of you? What do you expect to say to God if you get to heaven and you're talking to him about your life and about what you've accomplished? Do you assume that these dollars and this excess amount of success that you've been able to accomplish through these devious way of moving, do you think that that's going to be enough to let your soul rest when your last day comes? How do you feel about that? Are you proud of yourself? All of that. I would want to say that directly to him, and then to have some sort of response. And if that ends in a you, then it ends in that, and we end parting ways. If it ends in a, okay, damn, I understand, and I would rather try to aim for that, because it's, what's the saying? Every sinner has every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. Mm-hmm. And I've made mistakes in my life. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's why I almost want to be like, maybe no one's taught you. Maybe you don't understand what the you're doing. Maybe you don't understand how much of an impact you almost had on my life, or if you're still doing it to young women, or if you're still doing it to young men. Do you understand what karma is? Do you understand what's going to come back to you? All of that. I'd want to just say it directly to him.
I want to go back to what you said about unity, because you're right. Another sad level of it is that it's probably happening right now, and it's still happening. What are you hoping that other artists, particularly young women who find themselves in this toxic and vulnerable state, take from your story, take from your experience?
That they can say no. That they can say no and stick to their guns. And that if they're sad about it when they get home, that they're allowed to be sad. You just can't stay there. You just can't stay in that place and let someone win. If women have gone the other way, that they're not judged for it, and that they shouldn't judge themselves and be too hard on themselves, because when you're young and naive and this is all you've been chasing for, it's really easy to get persuaded by someone that has a mask on. to men, kind of what I just said. If you have a daughter or a sister or a mother, I hope that you learn to empathize with what it means to be a woman in the industry and how much more aware you have to be and how you have to teach people how to treat you. You can't just walk into a room and assume the same amount of respect that maybe a male artist might get. I'm happy at starting conversations. I like that people are talking about it. It makes me feel happy. I don't know about vindicated. Vindicated, I don't think I won't get till I sit down and I'm able to express myself directly. I hope they get that. I hope they feel brave. I hope they feel like they have a friend in what they went through.
I hope you know that people have been able to get through things like that because of your story.
It's crazy. This is the same. Like, I feel honored to be able to have a connection with people that way. You know, there's so many things that we humans don't. There's so many things that like us as a society and even this age don't understand. Like, we still don't understand death. We don't really we have faith in religion and spirituality, but we don't understand where we go. We don't understand. You can ask a scientist to explain consciousness, and if I say see a red house, and right now somewhere you're seeing a red house, and if I see a red house with wings on it, somewhere you're seeing that, and we don't understand that, but somewhere here is where people are connecting with my music. I feel honored to be connected somewhere with other people that have empathized or just felt something with me. I feel honored.
Jessie Reyez, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.